Welcome to this series on the verb saber, which we all know means to know. Now, this verb just makes it into the top 10 most commonly used verbs in Spanish. In fact, its position is around about number 10. Now, saber is also a noun. For example, el saber means the knowledge. And we've had this before with poder. For example, el poder means the power. So these two are kind of like cousins in that respect. You can have el saber, the knowledge, and of course saber is to know, and el poder is the power. Of course, poder means to be able to, which is a kind of power. Now, there are three very interesting things with saber, which we're going to go through in this module. But first of all, let's cover the present tense. How do you say I know? Sé. Now, what you often hear is they throw in it. So what they're literally saying is, I know it, where in English we would just say, I know. So instead of hearing just sé, what you'll often hear is lo sé. And this represents, I know, lo sé. This brings up an important point because we're going to talk about defined versus not defined. Look at this example here. We have, I know it's a book, which would be sé que es un libro. Notice that I didn't put in the lo. This example here, you can see the lo is gone and we just have sé on its own because we're defining what it is that we know. Okay, so I know it's a book and I'm defining that in the sentence. So therefore, I can just use sé on its own. But whenever I'm not defining what it is that I know in a sentence, and I'm just saying in a general sense, I know, then you're going to throw in this lo. And this happens in the present tense in all the angles, and it also happens in the other tenses in all the angles as well, which you'll see as we go through the module. But this little point here is important. So once again, whenever you're saying something general, like I know, you're going to often throw in lo. That sounds most natural. Lo sé would mean I know. But if you're defining what it is that you know, for example, I know it's a book, then you're going to leave out the lo and just use sé on its own because you're already defining what it is. So I hope that makes sense. Next up, let's look at why saber is an irregular verb. If we have a look at the infinitive, you can see saber here, and normally we would drop the er, right, and replace it with o for the angle of I. So you get sabo, but of course that doesn't exist, and we have this sé. So the good news is that it's only irregular in that first person, the sé. The rest of it for you, he, she, and it, we, and they is all behaves like a regular verb. So it's just irregular in this first person in the present tense. So let's run through the conjugation now in the present tense, and I'm going to just put it all on one slide. So we have sé for I know, and then the rest of it behaves exactly like a regular er verb in the present tense. We have sabes, you know, sabe, he, she, or it knows, sabemos, we know, and saben for they know. I'd like to do a little bit of practice now with saber in the present tense, and to help us with this, I'm going to introduce this phrase, which is the reason why. To express that in Spanish is simply el porqué, literally the why. Now, there is another option you have, which is la razón del porqué. Now, this means the reason of the why, but I think it's easier for us just to use el porqué. It's perfectly legitimate and acceptable, and it's easier than this one. So anytime you want to express why or the reason why in a sentence, you're going to use el porqué. For example, if we wanted to say, I know why, it would be sé el porqué. They would express it in that way. I know the reason why. Sé el porqué. How would you say, I don't know why? No sé el porqué. What about this one? I don't know why he did it. This is going to be a dot past here with hacer. No sé el porqué lo hizo. Literally, I don't know the reason why he did it. See how we have why in a sentence here in the middle. It's not at the beginning of a sentence like asking a question, but it's in the middle. And so it sounds most natural to use this no sé el por qué, the reason why he did it. How would you ask, do you know why? ¿Sabes el por qué? He knows why. Sabe el por qué. She doesn't know why. No sabe el por qué. We know why. Sabemos el por qué. They know why. Saben el por qué. The answer in Spanish is la respuesta. We have res and then puesta, literally linked to, I guess in English, the response, right? So the answer is la respuesta. How would you say as a statement, you know the answer? Sabes la respuesta. Now, how would you ask that same thing? Do you know the answer? ¿Sabes la respuesta? What about, do you know the correct answer? ¿Sabes la respuesta correcta? How would you say, he knows the answer? Sabe la respuesta. How would you say, she knows why? Sabe el por qué. Now try to say, she doesn't know the answer. No sabe la respuesta. We don't know the answer. No sabemos la respuesta. What about this one? They know the answer and the reason why. Saben la respuesta y el por qué. To say the word who in Spanish is quién, quién. And something you hear very often is this expression of who knows. And that would simply be quién sabe. Now this one stands for who knows, but it also is used for perhaps or maybe. So you'll hear this quite a lot and you'll use this quite a lot. For example, someone asks, are you going to be able to do something? And you say, well, quién sabe, who knows, perhaps, maybe, quién sabe. You can see sabe coming from the present tense of saber, the third person. It's just something that's very useful to have in your vocabulary. Quién sabe.